The main causes of the revolution in 1848 were the effort to eliminate the remnants of feudalism that hinder capitalist progress, dissatisfaction with absolutism and conservatism that occurred after the Congress in Vienna, the improvement of the national feeling of oppressed people in Habsburg monarchy, the effort to unify Germany and Italy, and unemployment, crop failure, and overall social dissatisfaction. In January 1848, an uprising against absolutism took place at the capital of Sicily, Palermo. At the same time, an uprising against Austrian rule began in northern Italy. On March 23, 1848, a republic was proclaimed in Venice, which declared the end of the Habsburg rule and orientation towards the Kingdom of Sardinia, which declared war on Austria. Vienna was forced to negotiate and the Austrian army retreated. Italy rejected the agreement and therefore the dispute was resolved militarily. In June 1848, the Austrian army won the Battle of Custoza, and in March 1849, after the Battle of Novara, the Kingdom of Sardinia resigned and a definite peace was concluded, as the rebels had no chance without Sardinian support.
Germany. The Revolution of 1848, alias the March Revolution, began in March 1848 in Baden and quickly spread throughout the countries of the German Confederation. The revolution in Germany were a series of riots, protests and uprisings in the German Confederation that took place in the German states. In March 1848, workers' revolts broke out in the countryside. Socially disadvantaged groups of the population tried to promote and improve in their living conditions. The purpose of the revolution was the unification of Germany and the promulgation of constitutions. Revolution also broke out in Berlin, the capital of Prussia. The Prussian king appointed a liberal government. The German parliament was convened in Frankfurt am Main, where they negotiated with the other rulers of Germany about possible unifications. František Palacký was also invited to the meeting, but he refused to attend and thus refused to join Germany and expressed his wish to preserve Austria. The German national movement had two directions. First, create a greater Germany, and second, create lesser Germany. Session of Frankfurt Parliament. On the last day of March 1848, the Frankfurt Parliament met in Frankfurt am Main, where it set out three basic objectives. The first, draw up a German constitution. Second, prepare for elections to the regular parliament. Third, to bring Germany to the creation of a federal state. The Assembly also discussed the abolition of serfdom and civil liberties. The Diet offered the rule of a united Germany to the King of Prussia, but he refused to take power from the lower social classes. Also, other rulers reject this unification from below. So his Diet collapsed and was eventually disappeared military. After military defeats of the rebels and the feudalizations of Frankfurt's parliament, the revolution in German land was suppressed in 1849.
France. The government in France has been criticized for corruption and custom policies since the 1830s. Therefore, two directions of opposition arose: the liberal bourgeoisie, which strives for electoral reform, and the radical bourgeoisie, which also cares about the workers and demands changes for the workers as well. The opposition held public rallies seeking electoral reform, which were combined with banquets to increase participation. In February 1848, one of the banquets was banned, leading to a demonstration that resulted in uprising against the king. The king sent soldiers to quell the rebellion, but they refused to obey. Then the King Louis-Philippe of Orleans was overthrown thanks to the revolution, and a republic was declared with a provisional government in which the socialists were also represented. The new government established national workshops to eliminate unemployment. In June 1848, however, the government abolished the national workshops, which led to conflict and resulted in the July Revolution on 23rd to 26th of June 1848. It was the first time that the working class fought against the bourgeoisie. The revolution was suppressed by the government army. About 10,000 people were killed and many were sentenced to death or deportation to the galleys. In 1848, a new constitution was adopted and Louis Bonaparte, a relative of Napoleon Bonaparte, was elected president of the Republic. In 1851, Louis had his powers unconstitutionally extended for 10 years, and a year later he had himself proclaimed emperor. France was referred to as the Second Empire until 1870, when the emperor had to abdicate.
In Austria, there were United Nations that didn't share in power. Slavs 17 millions, German 8 millions, Hungarians 5 millions. There were problems with the feudal regime, absolutism and workers' discontent. The revolution of 1848 to 1849 in the Austrian Empire began in March 1848 with an uprising in Vienna and Hungary, and it nearly forced Emperor Ferdinand I to make serious concessions. He had to dismiss Metternich's office, create new ministries, and promised to draft a constitution and freedom of the press, but this was done under duress. The April constitution, which the emperor had promised to issue, didn't meet all the expectations of the Viennese liberals, who therefore rose again in May 1848. In May 1848, riots broke out again in Vienna. The government was forced to convene the Constitutional Reichstag, caused by the hitherto few change in practice. The government in the city was therefore taken over by the security Comite, and the ruler and his family left for Innsbruck. On 2nd December 1848, he was removed from the throne against his will and abdicated in the Archbishop's palace in Olomouc in favor of his nephew Franz Joseph I. In March 1848, the new emperor Franz Joseph I, with the help of the army, dissolved the Reichstag in Kroměříž and proclaimed the Octroi March constitutions. The Hungarian Revolution was finally defeated with the help of Russian troops in August 1849. In 1851, the emperor revoked the constitution, thus beginning an almost 10-year era of neo-absolutism. But the gains of the revolution in the form of the abolition of serfdom and the establishment of monarchy. Hungary and Slovakia. The Hungarian Revolution and the struggle for freedom and the independence of 1848 to 1849 is one of the greatest European revolutions of 1848 and is closely connected with the revolution in Czech lands. However, unlike other countries of the Austrian Empire, in Hungary, this revolution grew into a war of independence. The Slovak national movement and the Hungarian national movement were active here. The response to the events in Vienna was a revolution. On March 17, 1848, an independent Hungarian government was formed, headed by Lajos Batthyány in Pest. April laws were in Hungary abolished, corvées, serfdom introduced, and the country system. The revolutionary movement in Hungary sympathized with the movement in Germany. In May 1848, representatives of the Slovak national movement met in Liptovský Mikuláš and adopted their program, Žádosti slovenského národa. Here, they pointed out the equality of Slovaks. They demanded the right to vote and Slovak in office and schools. Demanded land for peasants and civil liberties. The Hungarians, however, refused žádosti, declared martial law, and issued an arrest warrant for the leader of the Slovak national movement. Against the insurgents in Hungary was decided to use disaffected crowds led by the newly appointed Ban. On September 11, they invade Hungary but were subsequently pushed back as far as Vienna. The subsequent session of the Constitutional Assembly in Vienna, where the situation in Hungary was dismissed the Hitler-to-Hungary plot-in. Archduke stepped and Duke Lamberg was newly appointed in his place, but he was murdered. The Hungarian Diet was dissolved by a decision of Vienna. Martial law was declared in the country and ALHC was given full power to suppress the revolution. Vyšehrád's set out against the Hungarians. On 6 January, Buda fell, then Pest. Against him stood the Committee of National Defense, headed by Kossuth. In the spring, the Hungarians went on the counteroffensive and pushed the attacks back. In August 1849, the Hungarians were defeated at Világos. Austria was helped by the Russian Tsar Nicholas. Repression against the rebels was quite harsh. Over 100 officers and generals, including Badhiani, were executed.
Czechia. On March 11, 1848, the Radical Democrats convened People's Assembly in the spa of St. Wenceslas. The Radical Democrats were united in the secret society Repeal, whose members were young students who did not like politics. About 3,000 people attended the meeting, and the demands for the emperor were discussed. 1. Independence of Bohemia within Austria. 2. Equality of Czech and German in offices and schools. 3. Liberalism. 4. Improvement of the position of workers. A national committee was established to draft a petition for the emperor. The emperor's answer would be the so-called cabinet letter in which he promised a remedy which he did not carry out. Austria prepares a strike against the Hungarians. They took advantage of the good relations they had with the Slavs. On October 6, there was an uprising in Vienna. An imperial court fled to Olomouc. The Constituent Assembly also left Vienna. In November 1848, the rebellion was defeated. A state of emergency was declared. In October 1848, a new government headed by Prince Felix Schwarzenberg took office. The government's program seemed to adhere to the principles of constitutionalism, but the monarch held power. In December 1848, the current monarch resigned and was replaced by the then 18-year-old František Josef I, who took a strongly anti-revolutionary position and tried to eliminate the revolution. At the beginning of 1849, the Hungarians declared an independent republic, and on 14 April 1849, they disposed the Habsburg from the Hungarian throne. In March, the Kroměříž parliament was forcibly dissolved, and the monarch issued the so-called Octroi Constitution, which preserved centralized power and a high voter turnout. At this time, Italy was also defeated. In May 1849, the May Conspiracy was revealed in Prague. Radicals were preparing an armed uprising. 60 participants were arrested. 25 were sentenced to death, but in the end, they were not carried out.
The meaning of revolution. The revolutionary events clearly showed the backwardness of the Habsburg monarchy in many ways, and even the conservatives, who after the defeat of the revolution came into government, didn't dare to return everything to pre-revolutionary conditions. The inefficient robot limited the development of production and trade, as did absolutely guilt. The royal absolutism stifled the development of the intellectual and the political life of the peoples of the monarchy, who fought for its limitation by the constitutions. However, the existing political system was maintained. After 1848, nationalism, the demand for democratization of electoral system. after 1848, nationalismus, the demand for democratismus of the electoral system, began to assert itself. In the political sphere, neopsatulism was promoted for the time being. The revolutionary years started a number of change and progress in the European countries, although in some cases they were rather part of longer-lasting efforts. Unification tendencies in Italy began much earlier.